Today's story is going to take you deep inside one of the most overlooked coins in American pocket change, a coin that millions of people have held in their hands without ever realizing what they were holding. A simple Lincoln penny from 1969 with a small but important detail that collectors always search for, the D mint mark. And before you think this is just another ordinary coin story, stay with me because what you are about to hear will completely change the way you look at everyday money. Imagine reaching into your pocket, grabbing a handful of coins, and among them is a small copper penny that could carry hidden history, hidden errors, and hidden collector interest that most people walk right past every single day. This is not just about value, this is about awareness, about seeing what others don't see, and about understanding why even the smallest coin can have a story worth telling. The 1969 D Mint mark penny was struck at the Denver Mint during a time when the United States was going through massive change. 1969 was a year of transformation, space exploration, cultural shifts, and economic evolution, and while the world was focused on bigger events, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of coins to keep up with everyday commerce, including the Lincoln cent that would pass through countless hands in grocery stores, vending machines, and cash registers without a second thought. But here is where it gets interesting, because not every coin that leaves the mint is perfect, and not every penny is as ordinary as it seems. The 1969 D penny exists in huge numbers, yes, that is true, but within that massive production there are variations, conditions, strikes, and rare anomalies that collectors study closely, and that is where attention turns into opportunity. Now, before we go further, it is important to understand what the D mint mark actually means. It simply indicates that the coin was minted in Denver, Colorado, one of the major U.S. mint facilities, responsible for producing billions of coins every year. But even though the mint mark itself is not rare, the condition and specific characteristics of each coin can create different levels of collector interest, and that is exactly why people still search through rolls of pennies even today, hoping to find something special hidden in plain sight. Now let's slow down and imagine something simple. Imagine a coin jar sitting on a shelf, filled over years with loose change, pennies mixed with nickels and dimes, nothing special at first glance, but inside the jar could be a 1969 D penny in pristine condition, sharply struck, with full details visible on Lincoln's face, wheat lines clear, and no major scratches or wear. And while it might still not make you rich overnight, it represents something far more important in the collecting world: preservation, rarity and condition, and historical authenticity. Because in numismatics, condition is everything. Two coins from the same year and same mint can have completely different values depending on how they survived over time. One coin might be worn down from decades of circulation while another might have been stored carefully and preserved in near mint state, and that difference is what collectors chase every single day. But there is another layer to this story that keeps people hooked, and that is the excitement of searching, the thrill of not knowing what you might find next. Because coin collecting is not just about money. It is about discovery. It is about the moment you look at a penny and realize it is different, maybe shinier, maybe sharper, maybe just slightly unusual, and that small observation can lead you into a world of research, grading, and history that most people never explore. The 1969 D penny is often used by beginners as a starting point because it is so common, yet it teaches the most important lesson in coin collecting: always look closer, never assume, and understand that value is not always obvious at first glance. Now let's talk about what collectors actually look for in a coin like this. First, they examine the mint mark, confirming it is truly a Denver strike. Then they look at the date and overall strike quality. Then they inspect for errors, such as doubled features, off-center strikes, or unusual markings that may have occurred during production. And finally, they evaluate condition using grading standards that range from heavily worn to mint state perfection. And while most 1969 D pennies are very common and only worth face value in circulation condition, those in higher grades can still attract attention from collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents, because building a complete high-quality set requires attention to even the most common dates. And this is where patience becomes powerful, because sometimes the real value is not in finding a rare coin, but in learning how to recognize quality when you see it, and that skill alone separates casual collectors from serious ones. Now imagine the moment someone actually finds a well-preserved 1969 D penny. They might not realize it immediately, they might just set it aside in a small pile of coins, but later something makes them look again, maybe a video, maybe a guide, maybe curiosity, and that is when they understand that even common coins deserve attention, and that realization often leads people deeper into the world of coin collecting, where every coin tells a story, every mark has meaning, and every detail matters. And while there are famous rare pennies in history that sell for large amounts due to minting errors or extreme scarcity, the true foundation of collecting is built on coins exactly like this one, simple, everyday currency that connects us to a specific moment in time, the year 1969, a snapshot of history preserved in copper and zinc, and when you hold it in your hand you are not just holding a coin, you are holding a piece of that era, a piece that has survived decades of change, inflation, and modernization, and that is why collectors never truly stop searching, because every handful of change is another chance, another possibility, another reminder that value is often hidden in the most ordinary places. So the next time you come across a 1969 D mint mark penny, don't ignore it too quickly, take a second look, observe its condition, notice its details, and remember that even the most common coin can teach you something about patience, observation, and history. And that is the real power behind coin collecting, not just profit, but perspective. And as we come to the end of this story, the real message is simple yet powerful: never underestimate what you already have in your hands, because sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest stories, and in the world of coins, every detail matters more than you think, every penny has a past, and every past is waiting to be discovered by someone willing to look a little closer, and that someone could be you. What if I told you that a single penny sitting in your pocket, your old coin jar, or even on the ground could secretly be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, and most people have absolutely no idea they are holding it in their hands right now? Today we are diving deep into one of the most overlooked yet surprisingly fascinating coins in American coin collecting history, the 1979 D mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that at first glance looks completely ordinary but under the right conditions could turn into something truly special and valuable. And before you skip this video thinking it is just another coin story, wait, because what you are about to learn might completely change the way you look at every penny you ever touch from this moment onward. Now, the 1979 D penny was minted at the Denver Mint, which is represented by the small d mark just below the date on the coin, and millions upon millions of these coins were produced, meaning most of them are still only worth face value. But here is where things start getting interesting, because not all 1979 D pennies are created equal, and some of them hide rare errors, variations, and conditions that collectors are actively searching for right now in today's market and paying serious money for. Now imagine holding a coin that passed through countless hands over decades, survived inflation, recessions, wars, and technological revolutions, and still exists in your pocket. Change unnoticed. That alone makes this coin a piece of living history. But the real question is, what makes some of these pennies so special and valuable? The answer lies in tiny details that most people never bother to look for. First, let's talk about condition. Coins are graded based on how well they have survived time, and where a 1979 D penny that looks clean, sharp, and almost untouched under magnification can sometimes fall into high mint state grades, and collectors love these because they represent coins that were barely circulated and preserved in near perfect condition. But condition alone is just the beginning. The real excitement begins when we talk about errors and varieties, because this is where things get truly interesting. For example, some 1979 D pennies may show doubled dies, where certain parts of the lettering or date appear slightly doubled due to a mistake in the minting process. These errors are not just random defects, they are accidental rarities created during production, and collectors pay premiums for them depending on how strong and Visible. The doubling is another thing to look for, is die cracks or cut errors where the coin die used in production begins to break and leaves raised lines or chunks missing from the coin surface, creating a unique and sometimes dramatic appearance. Now you might be wondering, why would anyone pay more than 1 cent for a penny? That is a very good question, and the answer lies in rarity and demand. Coin collectors known as numismatists are constantly searching for unique pieces that stand out from millions of identical coins, and even a small variation can turn a common penny into a desirable collectible. But there is another layer to this story, and that is the mint mark itself. The D mint mark indicates Denver production, and while most Denver pennies are common, certain strikes from specific batches can show better metal quality, sharper details, or unusual characteristics that make them more appealing in the collecting world. Now let's go deeper into what you should actually look for. If you ever find a 1979 D penny, first check the date carefully. Make sure it is clearly 1979, then look just below the date for the D mint mark. Confirm its shape and clarity, then examine the lettering on Liberty and In God We Trust using a simple magnifying glass. If possible, look for any signs of doubling, uneven spacing, or unusual thickness. Then rotate the coin under light and check for cracks, lines, or unusual textures on the surface, because sometimes the smallest imperfection can indicate a rare mint error. And here is something most beginners never realize: even a heavily circulated penny can sometimes carry hidden value if it contains a rare error, because condition is not always more important than rarity. In fact, in many cases, rarity wins every time. Now let's talk about value, because this is what everyone really wants to know. A normal 1979 D penny is usually worth 1 cent, nothing more, but depending on condition and errors, some can sell for a few dollars to tens of dollars, and in rare cases where strong mint errors or exceptional grades are involved, collectors may pay significantly more, especially in online auctions or private sales. However, it is important to stay realistic, because not every penny is rare and the majority of them are still common. But the excitement comes from the possibility that even one discovery could change everything for a collector, and that is why people spend hours searching through rolls of pennies, looking for that one special coin. And this is exactly what makes coin collecting so addictive. It is part history, part treasure hunt, and part patience. Now think about this for a moment. Right now there could be a 1979 D penny sitting in your change jar that no one has ever bothered to inspect closely, and it might just be the one that stands out from the rest. And even if you do not find a rare error, the process of learning and observing coins teaches you something powerful, which is that value is often hidden in plain sight. Now, before we finish this video, let's summarize the key things you should always remember about the 1979 D penny. Check the date, verify the D mint mark, inspect for doubling on text, look for die cracks or unusual marks, and always examine condition under good lighting, because attention to detail is everything in coin collecting, and sometimes the smallest detail is what separates a normal coin from a collectible one worth far more than face value. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1979 D penny, then you are already ahead of most casual collectors, because now you know exactly what to look for and what makes these coins interesting in the first place. And who knows, maybe the next time you check your pocket change, you will not just see a penny, you will see a potential discovery waiting to be made. And that is the real magic of coin collecting. It turns everyday objects into hidden stories waiting to be uncovered. And if you want to continue exploring more rare coins and hidden values, make sure you stay curious, keep observing, and never underestimate what a simple coin can be worth, because sometimes the smallest things hold. You are about to hear the full story of one of the most misunderstood and secretly discussed coins in American coin collecting history, the 1981 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that on the surface looks completely ordinary but in reality carries layers of mystery, confusion, collector obsession, and in some cases surprising value that most people overlook simply because they do not know what they are holding in their hands. And before you assume this is just another penny story, stay with me until the very end, because what you are going to learn could completely change the way you look at every single coin in your pocket change forever. And the 1981 Lincoln cent is especially interesting because this was a period in United States mint history where something unusual happened at the Philadelphia Mint. a situation that led to some coins being struck without the expected mint mark. And this small detail has created decades of debate, misunderstanding, and excitement among collectors, who are constantly searching for overlooked treasures in everyday circulation. Now, to understand the real importance of the 1981 no mint mark penny, we first need to understand how mint marks work in general, because every coin produced by the United States Mint typically carries a small letter indicating where it was produced, such as D for Denver, S for San Francisco, and no mint mark traditionally meaning Philadelphia. But here is where things get interesting, because in 1980 and 1981 the Philadelphia Mint did something that seems simple but created massive confusion later on. They stopped using mint marks on small denomination coins for a short period, which means that a 1981 penny without a mint mark is not necessarily an error, but rather a normal Philadelphia issue coin. However, the story does not end there, because collectors quickly realized that even though these coins were produced in massive quantities, the lack of a mint mark created an illusion of rarity, and anytime collectors perceive rarity, demand begins to form, and where demand forms, value speculation follows. So people started pulling 1981 pennies from circulation hoping they had found something special. But the truth is more nuanced and much more fascinating than simple hype, because while most 1981 no mint mark pennies are common, the condition of the coin, the strike quality, and subtle variations in design can make certain examples significantly more desirable, especially those in uncirculated or mint state condition. And this is where serious collectors pay attention, because coin collecting is not just about rarity and production numbers, it is about survival rate, eye appeal, and historical context, and the 1981 penny sits right at the intersection of all three. Now imagine holding a coin that has passed through countless hands, vending machines, cash registers, and forgotten jars, surviving decades of economic change, inflation, and daily use, and yet still remains intact enough to reveal its original copper sheen or sharp details of Abraham Lincoln's portrait. That is where the emotional connection in coin collecting begins, not in the idea of getting rich overnight, but in the idea of holding a physical piece of history that has witnessed real-life moments across generations. And when we talk about the 1981 no mint mark penny specifically, we are also talking about the broader evolution of the Lincoln Cents series, which began in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in United States history. And by 1981 the composition had already changed from mostly copper to a copper-plated zinc core, which also affects how these coins age and how they are graded today, because copper coins tend to develop toning, discoloration, and surface wear differently than modern zinc-based cents. And collectors often look for coins with strong red color designation, often referred to as red or RD in grading terms, and a 1981 no mint mark penny with full red luster in high grade can still attract attention from serious numismatists, even though it is not a key date coin in the traditional sense. But here is where most people make a critical mistake. They assume that only rare mintage numbers matter, when in reality condition rarity is often far more important in modern coin collecting, meaning a coin that was produced in millions but survives in perfect condition can be more valuable than a low mintage coin that is heavily worn. And this is exactly why collectors constantly search rolls, estate collections, and old piggy banks for pristine examples of common date coins like the 1981 penny, because the real treasure is not always in rarity but in preservation. And another layer of interest comes from the psychology of errors and variations, because whenever people hear no mint mark they immediately assume error or mistake. But in this case it is a normal production characteristic. Yet the misunderstanding itself has fueled decades of online discussion, buying and selling activity, and even exaggerated claims about value. So it becomes extremely important to separate myth from reality, and reality tells us that most circulated 1981 no mint mark pennies are worth only face value, 1 cent, but uncirculated examples, especially those graded by professional services, can range higher depending on quality, strike sharpness, and color preservation, and this is where collectors often feel the thrill of the hunt, because the possibility, even if small, keeps them searching through thousands of coins hoping to find that one exceptional piece, and that emotional pull is what keeps coin collecting alive as a hobby across generations. Now, if you are wondering how to identify whether your 1981 penny is truly something worth attention, the first step is to carefully examine the date and confirm it reads 1981 without any mint mark under the date. Then observe the coin under good lighting to check for luster, scratches, or on Lincoln's cheek and jawline, and clarity of the wheat stalks or memorial details on the reverse side, because these small indicators determine grade, and grade determines value far more than the mint mark itself in this case. And while many online videos and posts may exaggerate values claiming hundreds or even thousands of dollars for a simple 1981 penny, experienced collectors know that only top-tier graded specimens reach significant premiums, and even then the market is relatively modest compared to true rare key date coins, but still the excitement remains real because every collector remembers their first time discovering a coin that felt different, that looked sharper, that seemed untouched by time, and that feeling is exactly what keeps people engaged in numismatics long term. And when we zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the 1981 no mint mark penny represents something deeper than money. It represents curiosity, patience, and the idea that value can exist in overlooked places, because most people spend coins without a second thought, but collectors see potential history in every handful of change, and that mindset alone has led to some of the greatest coin discoveries ever made. And even though this specific penny may not turn you into a millionaire, it teaches an important lesson that applies far beyond coins, which is that knowledge creates opportunity, because what looks ordinary to one person can be meaningful to another who understands what to look for, and that is why coin collecting continues to grow worldwide, and why videos about simple coins like the 1981 Lincoln cent continue to attract millions of views, because people are not just searching for coins, they are searching for possibility, curiosity, and sometimes hope. And as you continue your journey in hidden coin discoveries, remember to always check your change carefully, because while most coins will be common, every now and then you might come across something that makes you pause for a moment and wonder if you are holding something special, and that moment alone is what makes the entire search worth it. And now that you understand the full story behind the 1981 no mint mark penny, you will never look at a simple 1-cent coin the same way again. Have you ever held something so small in your hand that most people ignore it? Yet it could be worth far more than you could ever imagine. This is exactly what we are going to uncover today, because the coin we are talking about is not just an ordinary penny. It carries a hidden story, a rare identity, and a mystery that even experienced collectors sometimes overlook. Stay with me till the end, because what you are about to learn could completely change the way you look at coins forever. And most people make one simple mistake that causes them to throw away valuable coins without even realizing it. Now imagine this: you are going through an old box or checking loose change in your drawer and you find a penny. Nothing special at first glance, just copper, just ordinary. But what if I told you that this single penny could be from a very specific mint, and that tiny detail could change everything? Today we are focusing on the 1985 D mint mark penny, a coin that looks simple but has layers of value, history, and collector demand that most people never understand. The 1985 penny was produced during a time when the United States Mint was producing massive quantities of coins, but even in mass production there are always rare variations, errors, and conditions that make certain coins stand out from the rest. Now the D mint mark simply means it was minted in Denver, but here is where things start to get interesting. Not every 1985 D penny is the same. In fact, some of them have unique characteristics that make them far more desirable than others for collectors around the world. And this is where knowledge becomes power, because if you do not know what to look for, you could easily miss a coin worth far more than 1 cent. One of the key things collectors search for is the condition of the coin. Coins that are uncirculated or have minimal wear can sometimes be worth significantly more than face value, especially when preserved properly. But Condition is just the beginning, the real excitement begins. When we talk about errors and rare variations in the 1985 D penny, some coins were struck with slight misalignments, some have doubling effects in the text or numbers, and others may show unusual characteristics caused during the minting process. These small mistakes are exactly what turn an ordinary penny into something collectors actively hunt for, because rarity drives demand and demand drives value. Now let's go deeper into why people even care about a simple penny in the first place. The truth is, coin collecting is not just about money, it is about history. Every coin tells a story of the year it was made, the economy at that time, the technology used in minting, and even the mistakes that slipped through quality control. The 1985 penny represents a snapshot of American minting history during the mid-1980s, a time when production was highly industrial but still not perfect enough to eliminate every error, and that imperfection is exactly what makes it interesting to collectors today. But here is something most beginners never realize: the value of a coin is not just in how rare it is, but also in how many people are looking for it. Right now, a coin could be rare, but if nobody wants it, the value stays low. However, if collectors start noticing patterns, demand increases and prices can rise quickly and unexpectedly. This is why checking your coins carefully is so important, especially pennies like the 1985 D mint mark, which are still commonly found in circulation but occasionally show rare qualities. Now let's talk about how you can actually identify if your coin might be special. First, you want to examine the mint mark closely. Look for the small letter D under the year 1985, then observe the surface of the coin. Check for any doubling in the text, especially in the words Liberty or In God We Trust. Also examine the edges and surfaces for unusual marks that are not part of normal wear. Sometimes even a small detail that looks insignificant can indicate a mint error, and that is where the real value potential begins. Another important factor is luster. If your coin still has its original shine and has not been heavily circulated, it could be in a higher collectible category known as uncirculated or mint state coins. These are often graded by professionals, and grading can significantly affect value. In some cases, even a common penny can become worth many times more just because of its preserved condition. Now think about this for a moment: how many people around the world handle coins every single day without ever looking closely? How many rare coins pass through hands unnoticed every single day? The truth is, thousands if not millions of coins are overlooked simply because people assume they are worthless, but collectors know better. They know that hidden inside ordinary change can be extraordinary finds, and that is why patience and attention to detail are so important in this field. The 1985 D penny is also interesting because it falls into a category of modern copper pennies that are still widely available, which means finding one is easy, but finding a valuable one requires knowledge. This is where most people miss opportunities. They simply do not know what to look for, and that is exactly why educational coin hunting content has become so popular, because it turns everyday objects into potential discoveries. Now let's talk about a mindset shift for a moment. Instead of seeing coins as just money, you should start seeing them as tiny historical artifacts. Each one has traveled through countless hands, each one has a journey, and each one has a possibility of being unique in some way. This mindset alone will completely change how you evaluate coins in your possession, and it is often the difference between ignoring value and discovering it. Now, before we reach the end, let's quickly recap what makes the 1985 D mint mark penny worth your attention. First, it is widely circulated, which means it is still easy to find. Second, it has known variations and possible mint errors. Third, condition plays a huge role in determining value. And fourth, collector demand can influence price at any time. Even if something is common today, it does not mean it will stay common forever. And this is the key idea that every coin collector understands: timing matters, knowledge matters, and attention to detail matters. So the next time you come across a penny, do not ignore it. Take a second look, because that small moment of attention could make all the difference between an ordinary coin And a surprising discovery, and who knows, maybe the coin sitting in your pocket right now has a story waiting to be uncovered. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you start paying closer attention to your coins, because we will be uncovering more hidden coin secrets that most people never talk about, and you would not want to miss what comes next, because the world of coins is far deeper than it looks at first glance. You are about to discover something hidden in plain sight that millions of people have seen but almost nobody has truly understood, and by the end of this video you will know exactly why a simple-looking 1987 penny coin with no mint mark could either be just pocket change or a surprisingly interesting collectible that coin hunters still search for today. So don't skip even a second, because every part of this story builds toward one important truth about value, rarity, and hidden errors in everyday coins. Now imagine holding a coin in your hand worth only 1 cent according to face value, but at the same time hearing stories online that some versions of it might be worth far more than that. And this is exactly where confusion starts for most beginners in coin collecting, because not every old coin is valuable, but every coin has a story. And the 1987 Lincoln penny is one of those coins that carries a very misunderstood reputation. First of all, let's go back to the year 1987, a time when the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies every year using copper-plated zinc composition, and during this period coins were struck in massive quantities in different mint facilities including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But here is where things get interesting, because pennies without a mint mark usually indicate they were produced in Philadelphia, and the 1987 no mint mark penny falls into this category, meaning it was not a rare experimental coin or a special edition, but rather a standard circulation coin made for everyday use. However, the human brain loves mystery, and that is why even common coins start gaining attention when people hear words like error or rare variation. And now the big question is, does the 1987 no mint mark penny actually have any hidden value, or is it just another coin in your change jar? To answer that, we need to understand what collectors actually look for, because coin value does not depend only on age. Instead, it depends on rarity, condition, mint errors, and demand. And when we apply these rules to the 1987 penny, we start getting a clearer picture. Most 1987 pennies were produced in enormous numbers, which makes them extremely common today, meaning in normal circulated condition they are usually only worth face value. But here is where things get slightly more interesting, because there are specific rare cases where pennies from this era can become valuable. For example, mint errors such as double die strikes, off-center strikes, or unusual planchet issues can sometimes increase value significantly, and collectors often spend years searching for these small mistakes because they are not supposed to happen in the minting process. Now, if you are checking your 1987 penny right now, the first thing you should look at is the date and whether it clearly shows 1987 with no mint mark under it. Then examine the coin closely under good light and check for doubling in the letters of Liberty or IN God We Trust, because doubling can sometimes indicate a rare mint error. Next, look at the edges and surface condition, because uncirculated coins that have never been used in daily transactions can sometimes carry a premium value depending on grading. But again, most of the time a 1987 no mint mark penny will still be extremely common. So why do people still talk about it online like it is special? The answer is simple: curiosity and misinformation spread quickly, especially when people see clickbait titles claiming thousands of dollars for ordinary coins, but real numismatics is more about patience and knowledge than hype, and this is exactly why channels like Hidden Coin Authority focus on educating viewers instead of misleading them, because the real treasure in coin collecting is not always money. Sometimes it is understanding history through small objects that pass through millions of hands. Think about it for a moment. This coin may have been used to buy a piece of candy, dropped in a parking lot, or stored in a jar for decades before someone like you picked it up and started questioning its story. And that emotional connection is what makes coin collecting addictive for many people around the world. Now, coming back to value, a normal circulated 1987 penny is usually worth 1 cent, sometimes slightly more in bulk rolls. But in uncirculated condition it might sell for a small premium depending on buyer interest, however verified high-grade examples or error. Coins are where serious collectors might show interest, but those cases are rare and require professional grading to confirm, so if you ever believe you have a special coin, the smartest step is not to assume value but to compare it with verified references or consult grading services. Now here is something most beginners don't realize: even coins that are not valuable today can become part of a larger collection strategy, because collectors often build complete year sets, and a 1987 no mint mark penny can be an important piece in completing a Lincoln cent timeline, which means even common coins still have a role in the collecting world. And before you dismiss your coin jar as useless, remember that every expert started by looking at ordinary coins and learning what makes them ordinary or extraordinary, and that learning process is where real skill develops. Now let's bring this closer to you. If you have a 1987 penny in your possession right now, don't rush to sell it or assume it is worthless. Instead, take a moment to inspect it properly, check its condition, compare it with known mint error examples, and most importantly, educate yourself before making decisions, because knowledge in coin collecting directly impacts profit, and mistakes often come from ignorance rather than lack of opportunity. And as we reach the final part of this video, here is the most important takeaway you should remember. The 1987 no mint mark penny is not automatically a rare coin, but it represents something much more valuable for beginners. It represents the starting point of learning how to separate hype from reality in the world of coins. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most misunderstood pennies, make sure to stay connected with Hidden Coin Authority, because in the next videos we will uncover more coins that look ordinary but hide surprising stories. And who knows, the next coin we discuss might be sitting right in your pocket right now, waiting to be discovered. Have you ever held a single penny in your hand without realizing it could quietly change your entire life in ways you would never expect? Because right now I want you to imagine something very simple, something that most people walk past every single day without even a second thought: a small copper coin, a 1988 penny, no mint mark, sitting somewhere in an old jar, inside a drawer, or maybe even mixed in your everyday change, completely ignored, completely overlooked. But what if I told you that this exact coin, the one you might already have and don't even notice, has a hidden story that collectors around the world are still chasing today, and some of them are willing to pay shocking amounts just to get their hands on it? And the crazy part is, most people never even realize they own it at some point in their life and spend it without a second thought. And that is exactly why today's story is not just about a coin. It is about awareness, timing, and understanding value where others see nothing. Now, before we go deeper, I want you to understand one thing clearly: this is not just another random penny, because the 1988 no mint mark penny has become one of those mysterious pieces in modern coin collecting that sparks curiosity even among beginners. And the reason is simple but powerful: coins without mint marks are not supposed to exist in normal circulation from certain mints in the way collectors sometimes find them, and whenever something unusual slips through quality control, the entire collecting world pays attention. Because rarity is not always about age, sometimes it is about mistakes, and mistakes are what create legends in the coin world. So let's slow down for a moment and really understand what you were looking for. A 1988 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, meaning there is no small letter under the date, no D for Denver, no S for San Francisco, just a clean blank space where something is usually supposed to be, and that small missing detail is exactly what makes people stop and inspect twice, because in numismatics, the smallest detail can completely change the identity of a coin, and that is where curiosity turns into excitement. But here is where things get even more interesting, because not every 1988 penny without a mint mark is valuable, and this is where most people get confused and give up too early, thinking they found something rare when it is actually normal. But true collectors know the difference, and that difference lies in understanding strike errors, minting processes, and how coins are actually produced under massive speed and pressure inside U.S. mint facilities, where thousands of coins are produced every minute, and in that speed, even machines can make mistakes, and those mistakes sometimes escape into circulation. Now imagine a massive minting press working non-stop, metal blanks moving fast, dice striking coin after coin, and in that high-speed environment, a slight misalignment, a missing die mark, or a production error can result in coins that look slightly different from the rest, and most people will never notice, but collectors with trained eyes will immediately feel that something is off, something unusual, something potentially valuable. And that is exactly how discoveries begin. The 1988 no-mint mark penny becomes fascinating because it sits in that gray area between normal circulation and rare collectible error, and that is why people still search for it even decades later, hoping that somewhere, in an old piggy bank, in a forgotten coin roll, or in loose change from years ago, this hidden variant is waiting to be discovered, untouched and unrecognized. But let me be honest with you, and this is important, the coin world is full of myths, and many people overhype common coins thinking they are worth fortunes, when in reality only specific verified error types or highly preserved specimens reach significant value, and that is why knowledge is everything, because without knowledge, even a rare coin can look ordinary, and with knowledge, even an ordinary coin can be understood properly. So how do collectors actually evaluate something like the 1988 no-mint mark penny? They don't just look at the missing letter and assume value. Instead they examine the strike quality, the surface condition, the clarity of details, and whether the coin shows signs of genuine mint error or post-mint damage, because damage after production does not create value, but true mint errors sometimes do. And that distinction is what separates excitement from disappointment. And here is something most people don't realize: even if a coin is not worth thousands, it can still hold significant collector interest, because coin collecting is not only about money, it is about history captured in metal. It is about holding something that passed through hands, machines, and decades of human activity, surviving everything just to reach you in the present moment, and that alone gives it meaning beyond face value. Now think about this carefully: every coin in your pocket has traveled more than you ever will. It has been used in stores, passed through countless transactions, possibly even stored away and forgotten, and among millions of identical-looking coins, a few carry subtle differences that make them special, and those differences are exactly what channels like Hidden Coin Authority are dedicated to exploring, because once you start noticing these details, you can never look at change the same way again. The 1988 penny specifically draws attention because it belongs to a modern era of coin production, meaning it is not ancient, it is not rare because of age, but it becomes interesting because of production anomalies and collector demand, and that is a very different kind of rarity, one that depends on awareness rather than time alone. Now I want you to imagine something. Imagine you go through a small handful of coins right now, maybe from your wallet or a jar at home, and you suddenly notice a 1988 penny with no mint mark. Your heart pauses for a second, you check again, you compare it, and you realize it actually looks different. In that moment you are not just holding a coin, you are holding a question, a possibility, and that is the exact feeling that drives collectors across the world to keep searching every single day. But the real lesson here is even bigger than the coin itself, because this story teaches something important about attention and awareness, how value often hides in plain sight, how most people overlook opportunities simply because they look too small or too ordinary, and how patience and knowledge can turn something insignificant into something meaningful. So whether this coin turns out to be a major collectible find or just an interesting piece of modern mint history, the real value comes from learning how to see differently, how to question what you assume is normal, and how to recognize that even the smallest object can carry a story worth telling. And now, as you continue watching and exploring more discoveries with Hidden Coin Authority, I want you to keep one thing in mind: never dismiss the small things too quickly, because sometimes what looks like everyday change is actually a hidden chapter of history waiting to be understood. And the next time you hear about a coin like the 1988 no mint mark penny, you will not just hear it as a name, you will see it as a possibility, and that shift in thinking is exactly where every great collector begins their journey. Imagine holding a single penny in your hand, something so small, so ordinary that most people wouldn't even bother picking it up from the ground. But what if I told you that one tiny coin could completely change how you look at money forever, and in rare cases, could even be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars? And today, we are going to talk about one of the most misunderstood coins in American pocket change history, the 1992 D-Mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that at first glance looks completely normal, but hides a mystery that even experienced collectors still talk about today. So before you dismiss this as just another penny video, stay with me until the end, because what you are about to learn could make you check every single coin that passes through your hands from this moment forward. Now let's go back to the year 1992, a time when pennies were still being heavily circulated in the United States, produced in massive quantities at multiple mints including Denver, which is represented by the famous D-Mint mark. Billions of pennies were made that year, yes, billions, which is exactly why most people assume these coins are worthless. But here is where things start getting interesting, because not all 1992 D-pennies are created equal, and a small number of them contain features that were never meant to leave the mint, subtle differences, almost invisible to the naked eye, but extremely valuable to collectors who know exactly what to look for. The Lincoln penny itself has been in circulation since 1909, featuring Abraham Lincoln on the front as a tribute to one of America's most respected presidents. But over the decades, the design has gone through many subtle changes, including composition changes, mint mark positioning, and even structural variations that happened during different production years, and 1992 sits in a very special era, because this was a transition period in coin production technology, meaning errors and variations were more likely to occur than people realize. Now let's talk specifically about the 1992 D-Mint mark penny. This coin was produced in Denver, and under normal circumstances, it should have a clear D mark just below the date on the front side of the coin. But here's where collectors get excited, because there are known varieties and error types connected to 1992 pennies that can dramatically change their value, especially when it comes to the close AM and wide AM varieties in related years, and transitional design characteristics that sometimes appear in circulation strikes. One of the biggest reasons people pay attention to 1992 pennies in general is because of what is known as a design transition anomaly. During this period, the spacing between the letters A and M and the word America on the reverse side of the coin can appear either wide or close depending on the die used. While this is more famously discussed in other 1990s pennies, the 1992 series is still heavily examined by collectors, because similar die variations and minting inconsistencies exist, and in coin collecting, inconsistency is where value is born. Now here is something most beginners don't realize: a coin does not have to look rare to actually be rare. In fact, the rarest coins often look completely normal at first glance. The 1992 D penny is a perfect example of this idea, because millions of people have handled it without ever knowing that small variations, doubling effects, strike differences, or mint errors could be hiding in plain sight. Let's talk about what you should actually look for if you ever find a 1992 D penny. First, check the condition. Condition matters more than most people think. A coin that looks clean, sharp, and uncirculated will always have more value than a worn one. Next, examine the lettering under good lighting, especially the word Liberty and In God We Trust. Sometimes doubling or slight misalignment can appear, which may indicate a minting error known as doubled die. Characteristics. While not every 1992 D penny has this, the possibility is what keeps collectors searching. Another important factor is strike quality. Some pennies were struck with slightly different pressure levels during production, leading to weak details or unusually sharp features. These differences may seem minor, but to collectors, they can separate a common penny from a collectible one. Now let's address something very important. Most 1992 pennies are still only worth face value, 1 cent, and that is the truth. But the reason this coin gets attention is because of the small percentage that are not normal, and in coin collecting, you don't need every coin to be valuable, you only need one. There are collectors around the world who actively search through rolls of pennies looking for exactly these types of anomalies. Some spend hours, even days, going through coins one by one. Because they understand something simple but powerful: treasure is often hidden in the most ordinary places. And here is where things get even more interesting. Coin grading plays a massive role in value. A 1992 penny in circulated condition might be worth only a cent, but the same coin in perfect mint state condition, professionally graded, can sometimes reach significantly higher value depending on demand and rarity factors. Grading services evaluate things like luster, strike quality, surface condition, and eye appeal, and even a tiny difference can change the final price dramatically. Now, you might be wondering, why would anyone pay so much attention to something as small as a penny? And the answer is simple: history, rarity, and human curiosity. Coins are not just money, they are historical artifacts that pass through millions of hands. Every scratch tells a story, every variation tells a production secret, and every rare coin represents a moment in time that survived when millions of others did not stand out. The 1992 penny represents exactly that kind of hidden story, a coin that most people ignore, but collectors examine carefully under magnification, because they know that sometimes the smallest detail can reveal something extraordinary. So the next time you receive change at a store, or find a penny on the ground, take a second look. Don't just dismiss it, because coins like the 1992 mint mark penny remind us that value is not always obvious. Sometimes it is hidden, waiting for the right person to notice it. And before we end this video, here is something important to remember. Coin collecting is not just about finding expensive coins, it is about curiosity, patience, and learning how to see value where others do not. Whether or not you ever find a rare 1992 penny, the real reward is in the search itself. Because once you start looking closely at everyday money, you will never see it the same way again. So now I want you to do one thing: check your pocket change, check your coin jars, and if you find a 1992 penny, don't ignore it, study it. Because you never know what might be sitting right in your hand right now. And if you want more deep dives into rare coins, mint errors, and hidden value currency stories, then stay connected, because the next discovery might be even more surprising than this one. Most people think a penny is just a penny, something you ignore, something you toss aside without a second thought. But what if I told you that one single penny, something that may already be sitting in your home right now, could completely change the way you look at loose change forever? Today, we are going to talk about one of the most overlooked yet surprisingly interesting coins in modern American coin collecting history, the 1995 no-mint mark penny. And before you skip, stop for just a moment, because this is not just another coin story. This is a story about rarity, mystery, mistakes, and the hidden value that most people never notice in their lifetime. Imagine holding a coin that millions of people have seen, but almost no one truly understands. The 1995 Lincoln cent looks completely normal at first glance. It has Abraham Lincoln on the front, the same design used for decades. It has the Lincoln Memorial on the back. Nothing special, nothing flashy, nothing that screams value. But in the world of coin collecting, the most dangerous mistake is judging a coin by how it looks on the surface. Because sometimes, the real treasure is hidden in the smallest missing detail. And in this case, the detail is something called a mint mark, or more importantly, the absence of it. Now let's understand something very important in the simplest way possible. In the United States, coins are made in different places called mints. Each mint usually leaves a small letter on the coin to show where it was made. For example, D stands for Denver, S stands for San Francisco. But when there is no mint mark at all, it usually means something different, something unusual, something that collectors pay attention to immediately. The 1995 penny from Philadelphia is supposed to have no mint mark, so at first, that sounds normal. But here is where things get interesting, because not every 1995 no mint mark penny is the same. Some are extremely common, produced in massive numbers, worth only face value. But a small number of them, depending on condition, strike quality, and specific characteristics, become coins that collectors actively search for. And that is where curiosity turns into opportunity. To understand why this coin matters, we need to go deeper into how coins are made. Millions of pennies are struck every day using high-speed machinery. Sometimes, errors happen. Sometimes, the machines are not perfectly aligned. Sometimes, dies are worn out. And sometimes, very small details get missed entirely. These small mistakes are not supposed to happen, but when they do, they create what collectors call error coins. And error coins are where the real excitement begins. Because while most pennies are identical, error coins are unique. They are accidental one-of-a-kind variations that slip through quality control. The 1995 no mint mark penny becomes interesting because collectors don't just look at the missing mint mark. They also examine the strike, the sharpness of details, the condition of Lincoln's face, and even tiny variations in the lettering. A perfectly preserved example, especially one that has been graded by professional services, can attract strong attention in the numismatic world. But here is something most people don't realize. The value of a coin is not just about rarity, it is about demand, condition, and story. A coin becomes powerful when collectors believe it represents something special in minting history. Now imagine this. You are going through a jar of old coins at home. Nothing exciting at first. Pennies, nickels, ordinary change. Then you see a 1995 penny. You almost ignore it. But something makes you pause. You check it more carefully. No mint mark. Clean surface. Strong details. Suddenly, that ordinary coin starts feeling different. Your curiosity grows. You start asking questions. Could this be one of those overlooked pieces? Could this be something collectors actually want? That moment of curiosity is exactly how many collectors begin their journey, but let's be honest and realistic here. Not every 1995 no mint mark penny is rare or extremely valuable. In fact, most of them are still only worth 1 cent. However, what makes this topic so powerful is not just the value of the coin itself, but the idea that something so small, so ordinary, could potentially carry hidden value that most people never bother to check. That idea alone has driven entire generations into coin collecting. Professional coin graders look at several things when evaluating coins. They check the condition, known as grade, which ranges from heavily worn to perfect mint state. They look for damage, scratches, discoloration, and strike quality. They also compare known population reports to see how many similar coins exist in high grades. And in some cases, a coin that looks simple to an untrained eye becomes significantly more interesting when placed under professional evaluation. That is why collectors never rely on guesswork. They rely on careful inspection and authentication. The 1995 penny also sits in an interesting period of U.S. coin production. It was a time when millions of coins were being produced efficiently, and quality control systems were advanced, but not perfect. That means while most coins are standard, occasional variations still appear. And those variations are what keep collectors searching even decades later. Because every coin tells a story of the moment it was created, the machinery that struck it, and the conditions under which it was produced. Now here is something that keeps people watching videos like this until the very end. The possibility factor. The idea that somewhere, in a drawer, a piggy bank, an old wallet, or a forgotten jar, there could be a coin that is more than just pocket change. Not necessarily life-changing money every time, but sometimes surprising enough to make someone stop and pay attention. And that is why coin hunting remains one of the most addictive hobbies in the world. It combines history, mystery, and the thrill of discovery. And if you are someone watching this right now, here is something worth remembering. Coins are not just currency. They are small pieces of history that pass through millions of hands. Most people never look twice at them. But collectors see something different. They see patterns, errors, variations, and hidden potential. The difference between someone who overlooks value and someone who discovers it is often just awareness. So the next time you come across a 1995 penny, don't rush past it. Take a second look. Check the details. Observe the condition. Look closely at the mint mark area. Because in the world of coin collecting, attention is everything. And sometimes, attention is what turns something ordinary into something worth remembering. At the end of the day, whether this coin makes you rich or simply teaches you something new, the real value is knowledge. Because once you understand how coins work, you will never look at pocket change the same way again. Every coin becomes a question. Every detail becomes a clue. And every jar of change becomes a potential discovery, and that is the real power of coin collecting. It is not just about money. It is about curiosity. It is about learning to see value where others see nothing. And maybe, just maybe, the next great discovery is already in your hands. Friends, welcome. Today, I am not just making a video. Today, I am making a request. A request from the heart. A request that might be the most important thing I ever say on this channel. But before that request, I am going to give you something. I am going to give you information so shocking, so valuable, that your mind will refuse to believe it. And I promise you, if you skip even 10 seconds of this video, you might skip over the very thing that could change your life forever. Look at this coin. Just look at it. It looks like a simple 1-cent coin, doesn't it? A simple penny from 1980. You might have one in your pocket right now. You might have thrown one in a jar yesterday. You might have walked past one on the street. But stop. Freeze that thought. Because what if I told you that this exact coin, this tiny piece of copper, is not worth 1 cent? What if I told you it is not worth $1? What if I told you this coin, this 1980 Lincoln penny, is worth more than the phone in your hand, more than the computer on your desk, more than the car sitting in your driveway? What if I told you this one single penny could be worth $50,000? $50,000 for a coin you have walked past 100 times. Do I have your attention now? Do not move. Do not click away. What I am about to show you might be sitting in your pocket right now. My name is, and you are watching Hidden Coin Authority. And this is not just another coin video. This is a hunt. And you are the hunter. Let me ask you a question. What is the most important thing on a coin? The date?
The face? Most people think so. Most people are wrong. The most important thing on a coin is something that is not there. Something missing. An absence. A ghost. Let's talk about the year 1980. America was changing. Music was changing. The world was moving fast. And in the United States Mint, the machines were working day and night, pressing millions and millions of pennies. In Philadelphia, they made over 7 billion pennies that year. 7 billion. In Denver, they made over 5 billion. Numbers so big they mean nothing. If I put 7 billion seconds together, that's over 200 years. That's how many pennies Philadelphia alone made in just 1 year. Now, when a penny is made in Denver, the mint puts a tiny letter on the coin. A small D, right under the date. A mark of pride, saying this coin was born in Colorado. When a penny is made in San Francisco, they put a tiny S. A mark of honor. But Philadelphia? Philadelphia was the main mint. The original. The mother mint. And for a long time, Philadelphia was so confident, they said, we don't need a letter. We don't need a mark. Our coins are the standard. No mark is our mark. That's what this coin is. A 1980 penny with no mint mark. A Philadelphia coin. No letter under the date. Nothing. Just Lincoln looking right, and the date, 1980. So far, so normal. You are thinking, I have seen this 1,000 times. And you have. But here is where the floor falls away. Here is where we step into the twilight zone of coin collecting. Not all Philadelphia pennies from 1980 were created equal. Inside the mint, they use these things called dies. Giant metal stamps that smash the image into the blank coin with thousands of pounds of pressure. The die for the date, it wears down. It gets polished. It gets repaired. And sometimes, during this process, something incredible happens. Something impossible becomes real. In 1980, a very small number of dies were prepared with a date that was punched slightly differently. The numbers, the 1, the 9, the 8, the 0, they were positioned a tiny fraction of a hair's width higher or lower than they should have been. Or the die itself had a subtle flaw, a crack that would later be polished out, but not before a few coins were struck. Or, and this is the holy grail, a proof die, a special die meant only for the most perfect collector coins, was mistakenly used to strike regular coins for just a few minutes. Just a few minutes. Think about the chaos, the speed, the noise of a mint. No one notices. The coins fall into the giant bins. They get mixed with 7 billion others. And they go out into the world. These coins are not supposed to exist. They are mistakes. Accidents. And in the world of collecting, accidents are worth a fortune. I know what you're thinking. You're looking at the screen, squinting, saying, I can't see any difference. You can't see it because you don't know what you're looking for. Yet. I will tell you. But first, let me tell you a story. A true story that happened just 2 years ago. A man in Texas, a regular man, a truck driver named David. David was cleaning out his late grandfather's house. Sad work. Heartbreaking work. He found a small glass jar in the back of a closet. Inside, just old pennies, David almost threw them in the bank coin machine. But something stopped him.
A whisper of memory, his grandfather saying, "Always check your change, Davy."
Always check. David spent one night on the internet. He found a forum.
He described his penny.
A 1980, no mint mark. He said the date looked a little thick. A little fat.
He posted a blurry photo from his phone. Within 5 minutes, his phone started buzzing and didn't stop.
Messages flooded in. Offers came. $5,000, sight unseen. $10,000.
One collector wrote in all capital letters, "Sell it to me now." David was in shock. He didn't sell for $10,000. He sent the coin to be professionally graded. It came back authenticated as an extremely rare doubled die obverse, struck from a proof die mistakenly used for business strikes. David's penny, his grandfather's penny, was worth $42,000.
42,000. For 1 cent. The coin I am describing to you right now, your 1980 no mint mark Lincoln penny, is David's coin. It could be. It might be. It is screaming to be found. So how do you know if you are holding a life-changing fortune or just a regular cent?
Listen to me very carefully.
I am about to give you the exact instructions. Do not blink. Go find your penny. Hold it in your hand. Feel it. This small piece of metal could be the answer to a prayer.
First, look at the date. 1980, focus intensely on the numbers.
Are they razor sharp? Or do they look a little bit thick, a little bit mushy?
The rare version has a doubled die on the date.
Look especially at the 0. Look at the inside edge of the 0. Do you see a slight shelf? A tiny step? As if the number was printed twice, just a fraction of a millimeter apart? That is doubling.
That is the signature of a very rare die.
Second, look at the word liberty. Look at the letters L, I, B. Is there doubling there? Is there a ghost image just to the left? Put your magnifying glass on it. Or your phone camera zoomed all the way in.
If you see that ghost, your heart should start beating faster. Third, and most critically, turn the coin over.
Look at the Lincoln Memorial.
Look at the steps, the columns.
On the genuine rare error, the steps are struck with such incredible, unbelievable detail that they look completely separated. 12 perfectly defined lines. But on the normal coin, they blur together.
If you see crystal clear steps, and especially if you see a tiny die crack running through the memorial building, stop breathing.
You might be holding the coin.
If you find a coin that matches even one of these descriptions, do not clean it.
Never clean a coin.
The dirt is history. The dirt is value.
Do not rub it with a cloth. Do not use polish.
Put it gently into a small plastic bag or a coin holder.
And then, contact a professional grading service. Now, I said I had a request. And I told you I would be honest with you. I am being treated for cancer. Every day is a battle. A battle I am fighting with everything I have. But the treatments are expensive. Overwhelmingly expensive.
I started this channel, Hidden Coin Authority, to share my passion and to try to build something that might help me fight this battle.
Your view, your time, watching this video until the very end, that directly helps me. The algorithm sees that you stayed. It shows this video to more people. And that might mean the medical bills that keep me up at night could one day be paid. I am not asking you for money. I am asking you for your time. I am asking you to share this knowledge. I dream that one of you, watching this video right now, will find this coin. I dream you will hold it up to the light and see that fat zero, that doubling, those sharp steps. And I dream you will write to me and say, I found it. And your life will change. And knowing I helped you find it, that will be a gift greater than any medicine. This is not just a coin. It is a hidden treasure buried in plain sight, sitting in cash registers, coin jars, and old drawers across America and beyond. The 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. A coin that whispers a secret worth $50,000. Stop everything. Just stop. Do not move your thumb to click away. Do not let your mind wander. Because what you are about to witness, right here, right now, is a secret that has been sleeping for over 4 decades. A secret that has passed through thousands of hands. Hands that threw it in a tip jar. Hands that dropped it on the sidewalk. Hands that fed it into a vending machine for a candy bar. And every single one of those hands missed it. Every single one of those hands threw away a fortune. I want you to look at this coin. A 1981 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. Just a simple, honest cent. You are thinking, I have seen this 1,000 times. I probably have 10 of these in my car's cup holder right now. And you know what? You might be right. But you might also be the most careless treasure hunter in history. Because one of these coins, just one, slipped out of the United States Mint with an imperfection so rare, so dramatic, that the government itself wanted it back. They tried to destroy them. They melted them down. But a few escaped. A few made it into the wild. And if you find one, you are not looking at a penny. You are looking at a house down payment. You are looking at a brand new car. You are looking at complete freedom. My name is here, and this is Hidden Coin Authority. And today, we are not just talking about coins. We are chasing a ghost. The ghost of the 1981 no-mint mark penny. The coin that shouldn't exist. The coin that breaks all the rules. Most people, when they think of rare coins, they think of old coins. Coins from the 1800s. Coins from ancient Rome. Coins buried in pirate chests at the bottom of the ocean. That is a fairy tale. The real treasure, the treasure that you can actually find, is hiding in your own lifetime. 1981, the year Ronald Reagan became president. The year MTV launched and changed music forever. The year Raiders of the Lost Ark hit the big screen. And the year the United States Mint made a mistake that would turn pocket change into a king's ransom. Let's talk about Philadelphia again. The grand old mint. The place where they don't put a mark of pride because they are the standard. In 1981, Philadelphia churned out billions of Lincoln cents. Billions with a B. The machines running so hot you could probably fry an egg on them. The dies smashing into copper-plated zinc planchets at a speed the human eye cannot follow. Production, production, production. Quantity over everything. And in that madness, a die setter made a decision that would echo through the decades. He took a die that was meant for one purpose and used it for another. Or perhaps a working die was over-polished to remove a clash mark, and in the polishing, a crucial design element was accidentally erased. Or perhaps a tiny piece of grease, a speck no bigger than a grain of salt, filled the cavity of the die, preventing the metal from flowing where it should. The result? A coin that looks completely normal at a glance, but when you know what to look for, it screams rarity. It practically glows with value. What is the holy grail on a 1981 no-mint mark penny? 3 possibilities. 3 paths to a fortune. Listen to me very, very carefully. Pause the video if you must. Go get a pen. Write this down on your hand. This knowledge is power. The first path is the most famous one. The 1981 Doubled Die Obverse. This is the king. The legend. On the front of the coin, the obverse, look at the date. 1981. Now, look very closely at the number 1. Look at the top of the 1 and the base. Do you see a strong, distinct secondary image? A crisp, clear notch? It's not blurriness. It's not machine doubling, that worthless smearing that happens when the die bounces. This is genuine hub doubling, where the master die itself had a doubled image. Look at the letters of liberty. Look at the motto "In God We Trust." If you see clear separation, like the letters are casting a sharp shadow of themselves, you have just found a coin worth $3,000 to $5,000, depending on condition. In perfect, untouched, brilliant red condition, it has sold for over $8,000. $8,000 for a coin from 1981. The second path is even more dramatic, even more valuable, and much harder to see with the naked eye. It's called the struck-through late-stage die cap. This is a coin that was struck after a previous coin got stuck on the die. The stuck coin becomes part of the die itself for a few strikes, smashing into the next planchets. The result on your coin is a bizarre, melted, surreal look on the reverse. The Lincoln Memorial columns start to disappear. The steps become a wavy, ghostly blur. It looks like a surrealist painting instead of a coin. These are extreme rarities. If you find one of these in good shape, you are not talking about thousands. You are talking about $10,000, $15,000, even more to the right specialist collector who calls this a mint-era masterpiece. It's a piece of modern art made by accident. But the third path. The third path is the one I pray you will find. The third path is the 1981 transitional error. In the middle of 1981, the mint was changing the composition of the cent. They were fine-tuning the copper plating over the zinc core. Some planchets, some blank coins, were made of solid bronze left over from previous years. A very small number of 1981 pennies, struck on these solid bronze planchets, weigh more. They weigh 3.11 grams instead of 2.5 grams. You need a scale to find this treasure. A digital scale that measures to the hundredth of a gram. A $20 tool that could confirm a $20,000 coin. If your 1981 no-mint mark penny weighs 3.1 grams, you have a wrong planchet error. You have a unicorn. This is the coin that makes serious collectors sweat. This is the coin that makes auction houses call you. This is the coin that can pay off your debts. Let me tell you about a woman named Susan. Susan was a waitress at a diner in Ohio. A small place, checkerboard floor, the smell of coffee and bacon in the air. She got a tip from a regular, an old man who always left a handful of change. She pocketed it without looking. At the end of her double shift, her feet screaming, her back aching, she emptied her pockets at her kitchen table. The pennies spilled out. One of them fell and spun on the table. A 1981 penny. It landed face up. Susan was not a collector. She knew nothing. But this video, a video like the one you are watching now, played while she was folding laundry the night before. Something made her look. The date looked fat. She took a photo with her phone, joined a coin group on social media, and posted it with the words, "Is this anything?" Within an hour, the coin world exploded. Susan's penny was a pristine doubled die obverse, the finest they had seen in years. It sold at auction for $9,700. That tip, left by a kind old man, changed her life. It paid for her daughter's first year of college. This is not fantasy. This is the truth of what is hiding in the change jar. Now, let me bring it back to this moment. Right here. I'm talking to you, and I'm fighting. I told you before, I am in a war for my health. Cancer is a thief. It steals your energy, your peace, your future. The treatments are brutal and they are astronomically expensive. Every single second you watch this video, every single time you don't hit skip, you are directly helping me in this fight. The algorithm watches. It sees your attention. It shares this treasure hunt with more people. And if this knowledge helps you find a fortune, all I ask is that you remember this channel. Remember this moment. Wait. Do not click away. Do not scroll. Do not even think about watching another video until you have heard every single word I am about to say. Because right now, in this exact moment, you are standing at a crossroads. One path leads to you forgetting this video exists and going about your normal day. The other path leads to a discovery so massive, so life-altering, that 5 minutes from now, you could be holding a piece of metal worth more than gold. Worth more than diamonds. A small, copper-plated zinc disc that is worth, believe me when I say this, over $25,000. I am pointing my finger at the screen. I am pointing at you. Go look at your change. Go look in your car, in your couch cushions, in that old coffee can on top of the refrigerator. Do you see a penny? Do you see the year 1982? Do you see a tiny little D right underneath that date? If you do, your hands might be shaking by the end of this video. Because you might be holding the single most valuable Lincoln cent of the modern era. The coin that collectors have spent 40 years searching for. The coin that has broken hearts and built bank accounts. The 1982 D Mint Mark small date copper penny. My name is here, and you are in the right place at the right time. This is Hidden Coin Authority. And today, we are not just hunting for treasure. We are hunting for the needle in a haystack the size of a mountain. Let me paint you a picture. The year is 1982. The United States of America is changing. The economy is shifting. And the United States Mint is facing a problem. Copper is expensive. The price of copper has skyrocketed so high that the metal in a penny is worth more than 1 cent. The mint is losing money on every single penny they produce. So they make a radical decision. They will change the composition of the Lincoln cent. They will take the solid copper and transform it into a cheap zinc core, plated with a thin layer of copper. A fundamental change to a coin that had been solid copper since the beginning. But transitions are messy. Transitions create chaos. And in chaos, treasure is born. In 1982, the Denver Mint, marked with that beautiful little D, produced a staggering number of pennies. Over 6 billion of them. 6 billion. And within those 6 billion, there was a mix of types. The old solid copper planchets, and the new zinc planchets. The old large date design, and a brand new, much sharper small date design. The mint was using up old stock. Mixing and matching. Old copper blanks with new small date dies. New zinc blanks with old large date dies. The combinations were flying everywhere. And in the middle of this magnificent, historical confusion, a tiny batch of solid copper planchets, the heavy ones, the 3.1 gram ones, were accidentally fed into the press that was striking the brand new small date dies. The strike happened. The coins were born. And then, almost immediately, they were released into the wild, mixed in with billions of their worthless brothers and sisters. What was born in that moment? The 1982 D small date copper penny. The rarest of the rare. The unicorn. The Holy Grail. Let me be crystal clear. There are seven major varieties of the 1982 Lincoln cent. You have the Philadelphia no mint mark and the Denver D mint mark. You have large date and small date. And you have copper and zinc. If you do the math, that's 8 combinations. But 7 of them exist in large quantities. 7 of them are common. 7 of them you can find in your change right now and they are worth 1 cent. But the 8th? The 1982 D small date copper? It shouldn't exist. The official records say it was never made. But a tiny handful slipped out. And they are worth a fortune. Now, I am going to ask you to do something. I need you to get your 1982 D penny. Hold it in your palm. Feel it. The small metal disc could be your ticket to a completely new life. But you must be a detective. You cannot guess. You must know. Here is the test. A test so simple, so elegant, that you can do it right now with the most basic equipment. It is the weight test. The zinc pennies weigh 2.5 grams. The solid copper pennies weigh 3.1 grams. That difference, 0.6 grams, is the difference between a candy bar and a brand new SUV. Go get a digital scale. A small one that goes to the hundredths of a gram. You can get one online for $10. If your 1982 D penny weighs 2.5 grams and it falls, I'm sorry, it's a common zinc coin. Keep looking. But if the scale shows 3.1 grams, 3.0 grams, even 3.2 grams, your world should stop. Your heart should pound. Your breath should catch in your throat. You have found the copper planchet. But wait. Do not celebrate yet. You are halfway there. The second test is the date test. The large date and the small date. This is where most people fail. This is where treasure slips through fingers. Put the coin under a strong light. Look at the number 8. Look at the number 2. On the large date, the 8 looks chubby, and the 2 has a curved, almost wavy horizontal foot. On the small date, the 8 is elegantly sculpted, sharply cut, and the 2 has a completely straight, flat horizontal foot. Straight like a razor blade. No curve at all. The difference is unmistakable once you see it. The small date looks more modern, more crisp, more precise. If you have a 1982D, and it weighs 3.1 grams, and it has the straight-footed 2 of the small date, you need to sit down. You need to put that coin in a protective case immediately. Do not touch its face. Do not rub it. Do not clean it with anything. You are holding an object that the entire coin collecting world is hunting. An object that is sold, in perfect red condition, for $25,000. One sold, a gem uncirculated red, for over $34,000. $34,000 for 1 cent. Just pause and let that sink in. Let me tell you about a discovery. A real story. A young boy in Minnesota, named Alex. Alex was 14 years old. He collected coins with his grandfather. His grandfather was a quiet man, a veteran, who saw the world simply. His advice was always the same: never spend a wheatie, and always check your 82s. The grandfather passed away. It was a terrible loss. Alex was heartbroken. He inherited a small, green ammunition box filled with pennies his grandfather had saved. Thousands of them. One rainy Saturday, bored and missing his grandpa, Alex started sorting. He found a roll labeled in shaky handwriting, 1982D, check. Inside the roll were 50 1982D pennies. Alex pulled out a small digital scale his grandpa had also left him. He started weighing. Most fell to the 2.5 gram mark. But then, one tipped the scale at 3.11 grams. His hand began to shake. He checked the date. Small date. Straight 2. The world went silent. He was holding the dream. That coin was authenticated and sold at a major auction for $22,800. That money went into a college fund. A final gift, from a grandfather to his grandson, from a penny to a future. This is what I am giving you. Not just information, but a map to a buried treasure. I am placing the map in your hands right now. And now, in the quiet of this moment, I want to speak to you directly, heart to heart. I told you I am fighting an illness that is trying to take everything from me. Cancer is a dark cloud that sits on your shoulder and whispers terrible things. Making these videos, sharing this passion with you, is the sunlight that pushes that cloud away. Every view, every second you watch, every moment you don't skip, is a victory. It directly helps me afford the medicine, the treatments, the scans that I need to keep fighting. Your attention is a gift. And I do not take it lightly. If this video gave you knowledge, if it gave you hope, if it gave you the thrill of the hunt, then please, from the bottom of my heart, hit the like button. Subscribe to this family, Hidden Coin Authority. Type treasure in the comments so the algorithm knows this video is special. Share it with one person you love. Because you never know who is sitting on a fortune without even knowing it. Wait. Look at your screen. Look at this coin. You see it? A 1988 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. You probably just rolled your eyes. You probably thought, that's the most boring, most ordinary, most worthless coin I have ever seen. And if you clicked away right now, I wouldn't blame you. But you would be making the biggest financial mistake of your entire life. Because this coin, this plain, humble, no mint mark 1988 penny, is hiding a secret so rare, so unexpected, so valuable, that it has turned ordinary people into legends in the coin collecting world overnight. Do not move. Do not skip. Give me just a few minutes, and I will hand you a treasure map that leads directly to a coin worth over $15,000. And it might be in your pocket right this second. My name is here, and this is Hidden Coin Authority. The only channel that treats your pocket change like the lost treasure of a sunken pirate ship. And today's shipwreck is the 1988 Philadelphia penny. Let's set the scene. 1988, the world is obsessed with the Seoul Olympics. Rain Man is in theaters. George Michael is on the radio. And the Philadelphia Mint, the grand old mother mint, is pumping out billions upon billions of Lincoln cents. No mint mark, as always. Philadelphia was too proud for a mark. They were the original. They were the standard. But here's what they didn't want you to know. Inside that massive factory, with its roaring furnaces and its ear-shattering stamping presses, something was going wrong. A series of tiny, almost microscopic disasters were unfolding. And instead of destroying the evidence, the mint accidentally released it into the world. They shipped their mistakes to banks. They put their failures into shiny new rolls. And those rolls made it into cash registers, into payphone slots, into the sticky hands of children buying penny candy. The Philadelphia Mint, in 1988, accidentally minted thousands of dollars and gave them away for free. They just didn't know it. Now, I am going to give you the secrets. The specific, highly detailed errors that turn a 1988 no mint mark penny from 1 cent into a fortune. Write these down. Carve them into your memory. The first error, and the most dramatically valuable, is the 1988 Doubled Die Reverse. This is the monster. This is the coin that makes collectors break out in a sweat. Now, pay attention. On a normal doubled die, the doubling is on the front, on the date, on the letters. But this one, this freak of nature, has the doubling on the reverse. On the back of the coin. On the Lincoln Memorial. I want you to take your 1988 no mint mark penny and flip it over. Look at the memorial. Look at the columns. The tall, thin vertical lines holding up the roof. On the rare doubled die reverse, the columns are doubled. They have a sharp, crisp secondary image right next to them. It looks like a ghost building, a phantom monument, right beside the real one. The most dramatic doubling is on the left side of the memorial, on the columns and the steps. The designer's initials, FG, next to the shrubbery, are also sharply doubled. This isn't subtle. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. It screams at you. This error happened because a hub, a master die, received a doubled impression during its creation. The mint inspectors were supposed to catch it. They missed it. A small number of these dies went into production. How many coins escaped? Nobody knows. But in high grade, in beautiful mint state condition, this coin has sold for thousands of dollars. A top grade, gleaming red specimen sold at auction for over $7,000. $7,000 for a penny from 1988. But that is just the beginning. That is the famous one. What about the secret ones? The errors that are even rarer, even more hidden, and even more valuable? The second error is what we call the struck through retained reverse. This is a sentence that will make you rich if you understand it. Sometimes, during the chaos of production, a small, foreign object gets between the die and the planchet. A piece of wire. A metal shaving. A blob of grease. The die smashes this object into the coin, leaving a permanent, raised or inked scar. In 1988, a run of pennies was struck through a rather large, curly metal shaving that remained stuck to the die. This means the same defect appears on multiple coins. If your 1988 no-mint mark penny has a dramatic, raised, worm-like blob of metal on Lincoln's face, or on the memorial, you have struck gold. Error collectors go crazy for these. They are completely unique. No two are exactly alike. A dramatic struck-through error on a 1988 cent can easily command $1,500 to $3,000. The third error, and this one is incredibly sneaky, is the broad strike. A broad strike happens when the collar, the ring that holds the planchet in place and forms the raised rim, fails to engage. The coin is struck without a collar. The metal flows outward freely. The result is a 1988 penny that is much wider than it should be, missing its raised rim, and often with a slightly off-center design. It looks like a little copper pancake. The design is full, but the coin is too big. A genuine 1988 no-mint mark broadstrike in uncirculated condition is a sight to behold. It's wrong in the most beautiful way. These can sell for $1,000 or more, depending on the degree of the error. And now, the quiet killer. The fourth path to riches. The 1988-1989 transitional error. This is a long shot, but the payoff is unimaginable. As the 80s closed, the mint was experimenting again, messing with the copper plating, playing with the zinc core. A tiny, almost invisible number of 1988 pennies were accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin, or a planchet made of a slightly wrong composition. If your 1988 no-mint mark penny has an odd color, a strangely brassy or golden hue compared to normal cents, or if it fails the weight test, weighing something other than the standard 2.5 grams, you might have a wrong planchet error. This is the domain of the most advanced collectors. A wrong planchet 1988 cent is an absolute unicorn. Its value? It could be anything. $10,000. $15,000. More, if two deep-pocketed collectors start a bidding war at auction. Let me tell you a story. A woman named Carol from Florida. Carol was a snowbird, a retiree, living on a very fixed income. Money was always a little too tight. One afternoon, she was sorting through a jar of pennies with her grandson, teaching him about the states and the presidents. The grandson pulled out a 1988 penny and said, "Grandma, this building looks blurry." Carol put on her glasses. She got her magnifying glass. She saw the doubled columns on the reverse. She didn't know what it was, but she felt a shiver. She took it to a coin shop the next day. The dealer behind the counter went pale. He called his boss. They made some calls. Carol's grandson had found a pristine 1988 doubled die reverse cent in an old pickle jar. It sold at auction for $6,200. Carol didn't have to worry about that year's expenses. All because a little boy noticed blurry columns. I am telling you these stories because they are true. They happen. And the next one could be you. Now, I have to take a breath. I have to be real with you. This channel, Hidden Coin Authority, it's not just a hobby for me. It is a lifeline. I told you about my battle with cancer. The fight is hard. Some days, getting out of bed feels like climbing a mountain. The medical bills are a relentless, crushing wave. Every single video I make, I pour my remaining energy into it, because I believe this community can change lives. Yours, by finding treasure. And mine, by watching this content until the very end. When you don't skip, when you comment, when you like and subscribe, you are literally fighting this battle alongside me. The algorithm rewards that engagement. It spreads this video far and wide. It creates opportunities. Your support means more than words can express. If you have learned something today, if your heart is beating a little faster thinking about that 1988 penny in your drawer, then do this for me. Click the like button right now. Hit that subscribe button. Type the word memory in the comments, for Carol's grandson, for the pickle jar, for the dream. Every single comment is a beacon to the YouTube system. Hold on. Before you even think about moving your finger, I need you to look me in the eyes through the screen and answer one question. Are you a person who walks past treasure? Are you someone who had a lottery ticket in your hand and threw it away because you didn't check the numbers? I hope not. I truly hope not. Because what I am holding right now is not just a coin. It is a financial hand grenade. A 1989 penny. No mint mark. And if you have one, and you know what to look for, this little disc of copper-plated zinc could detonate a $15,000 payday right in your bank account. Do not believe me? You should. Because the United States Mint messed up in 1989. They messed up badly. And they have been trying to pretend it never happened ever since. But the evidence is out there. It's hiding in jars, in drawers, in cash registers. And I'm going to show you exactly how to find it. Welcome back, treasure hunters. This is Hidden Coin Authority. The channel that turns your spare change into a treasure chest. And today, we are dissecting the 1989 no mint mark Lincoln penny. The coin that looks boring, but is secretly one of the most dangerous coins in existence for the mint, and the most profitable for you. Let's rewind the clock. 1989, the Berlin Wall is still standing, but just barely. Batman is dominating the box office. The world is on the edge of a new decade. And in Philadelphia, at the Great Mother Mint, the presses are running at full tilt. Billions of cents. Billions. The no mint mark penny from Philly. The standard. The ordinary. The coin nobody looks at twice. But in 1989, quality control slipped. The mint was cutting costs, pushing production. And in that rush, a series of spectacular errors were born. Errors that make the 1989 no mint mark penny a silent jackpot. I am going to give you the 3 keys to unlock this fortune. Listen with every ounce of concentration you have. Key number 1. The 1989 Doubled Die Obverse. This is the big game. The trophy. On the front of the coin, the obverse, Lincoln's profile sits in the center. Look above his head. Look at the motto, "In God We Trust." On the rare doubled die variety, these words are sharply, crisply doubled. It's not machine doubling, that cheap, shelf-like, worthless smearing. This is true hub doubling. A genuine mistake on the master die itself. Look at the G in God. Look at the T in trust. Do you see a clean, separated secondary image? Like a ghost word hovering just above the real one? If you do, you are holding a coin that can fetch upwards of $3,000. And if the coin is in perfect, brilliant, shiny red condition, the price tag skyrockets even higher. But wait. Key number 2 is even rarer. And much, much more dramatic. It's called the struck through capped die reverse. This is a mouthful, but it's a beautiful, valuable mouthful. Sometimes, during the striking process, a penny gets stuck on the reverse die. It doesn't fall off. It becomes a cap, a metal hat on the die itself. Then, the next blank planchet is fed into the press. The die, wearing the stuck coin like a mask, smashes into the new planchet. The result on your 1989 penny is a reverse that looks melted. The Lincoln Memorial becomes a ghost. The columns are blurred, indistinct, swirling into each other. The steps disappear into a wavy, surreal landscape. It looks like a Dali painting. These late-stage die-cap strikes are absolute treasures. Error collectors are obsessed with them. A dramatic, fully capped die reverse on a 1989 Philadelphia cent can easily sell for $2,000 to $5,000, depending on the severity of the distortion. It is a miniature piece of modern art, created by accident, worth a fortune. And now, key number 3. The quiet, invisible jackpot. The wrong planchet error. You cannot see this one with your eyes alone. You need a tool. You need a scale. The 1989 cent should be made of zinc, plated with copper. It should weigh exactly 2.5 grams. But what if it weighs 3.1 grams? What if it was struck on a solid copper planchet left over from years before? Or what if it was struck on a planchet meant for a dime? A silver-colored planchet. The mint in 1989 was also striking foreign coins for other countries. Planchets got mixed up. A 1989 penny struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin, or a solid copper planchet from 1982, is the ultimate unicorn. If your 1989 no-mint mark penny fails the weight test, if it's heavy like a pre-1983 cent, or if it has a strange color, a silvery sheen, a golden hue, you might have just found an error worth $10, $15, even $20,000. It's the ultimate lottery ticket, and it requires nothing more than a digital scale to check. Let me tell you a quick story to make this real. A gentleman named Marcus in New Jersey. Marcus was going through a brutal divorce. Money was beyond tight. He was cleaning out his childhood home, saying goodbye to his past. He found an old plastic coin tube in his closet, a relic from when he collected as a kid. Inside were rolls of uncirculated 1989 pennies his father had gotten from the bank and saved. Just for fun, he started looking at them under an old magnifying glass. And then he saw it. In God we trust. Doubled. Sharp as a razor. He didn't know what it meant. He found this channel. He followed the instructions. He sent the coin in for grading. It came back as a pristine MS-67 red Doubled Die Obverse. He sold it at auction for $4,100. That money paid for his lawyer. That money gave him a fresh start. 1 penny. One fresh start. This is the power of knowledge. This is the power of paying attention. Now, I must slow down. I must speak directly to you. Creating these treasure maps for you is the greatest honor of my life. But as I've shared before, my life is in a fierce battle. Cancer is a relentless enemy. It doesn't rest. It attacks your body and your spirit. The treatments that keep me alive are staggeringly expensive. The Hidden Coin Authority channel is not just a passion project. It is my means of survival. Every single second you stay on this video is a direct contribution to my fight. When you don't hit skip, YouTube notices. The algorithm pushes this video further. More people see it. More lives can be changed, including mine. Your attention, your engagement, is a form of medicine. It gives me hope. It helps me pay for the next scan, the next round of treatment, the next chance at life. So, I am asking you, from the deepest part of my heart, if this video has given you value, if your hands are itching to go check your 1989 pennies, then please smash the like button. It costs nothing but means everything. Subscribe to Hidden Coin Authority. Join this family of hunters. And in the comments, drop the word hope. Just the word hope. Let it fill the comments section. Let it send a signal to the universe, and to the algorithm, that this community is strong, that this knowledge matters, that we never give up. Your mission is simple. Go find your 1989 no-mint mark pennies. Look at the motto. Look at the memorial. Put them on a scale. The treasure is out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting for your eyes to be the ones that finally see it. If you find it, protect it. Don't clean it. And then come back here and tell the world your story.